500,000 US dollars are ripe for the taking here at the Heroes of the Storm Summer Championship, being broadcasted live from Jönköping, Sweden. It is DreamHack Summertime, the biggest LAN event in the world, and we have a fantastic Heroes of the Storm tournament so far for you. Of course, we are in the middle of Group Stage 2. We're going to show you the winner's match from Group B, and it is a very exciting one. It is going to be another rematch of Korea versus Europe. And none other than mYinsanity are going to face Team Tempest, the reigning Korean champion, and the only team that was ever able to beat MVP Black J-How.
I mean, if you're looking to make a statement as mYinsanity, this is where you make it. You don't want to go back down. You've got that familiar foe in Dignitas. Yes, they dominated them in the first series, but that was Dignitas's first set all week. So maybe that was just a bit of a warm-up for them, but this is the chance for mYinsanity to shine, or for Tempest to prove, hey, we're actually that good.
I think this is the first time that I feel like we've seen an opponent that I consider to rival mYinsanity. So again, it is their first major challenge in this event. I feel like this is going to be very telling on how well they're going to do outside of this event, or outside of this series.
I think you can say the same for Tempest, though, too. They've only defeated X Team, and obviously we've seen that X Team has been having struggles throughout this entire event. So whether or not they're able to do well on an international stage, or whether the nerves might come into play for them, too.
So yeah, both teams are considered to be the best in their region so far, but that is of course to be expected, because on the road to the Summer Championships, only the best of the best were invited in the first place. So let's actually see all the regions here being shown. Unfortunately, North America is no longer represented in this tournament. Also, some of the other regions like Taiwan, for example, they are no longer here. However, Korea and Europe and China, of course, these are the regions that are still dugging it out between themselves to get a piece of the glory and to get a piece of the hefty prize pool.
There's such a stark contrast that we see between the teams that are still here versus the teams that are gone. I mean, these teams, they've been together a while. If not, they've only made minor changes. They've had a lot of practice. They're very familiar with each other, but they also seem to have like a different aura in the way that they play, and the way that they shot call, and the way that they're able to respond. And so there's a big difference. So that's why we're getting some really good gameplay today.
I think for me, the most impressive thing with mYinsanity is their decision making and the efficiency within it. They always seem to make the proper call at the right moment, and they play to their comp and their play style every single time. They never play their opponent's game. They always seem to make the game theirs.
It is nice. I mean, Gilly, we've seen them earlier, and they seem to dictate a lot of what happened.
Bakery made a good point that both of the teams are very good at team fighting. They just have this finesse in their game, and I would even say that goes up to rotations too. Where their rotations is one big thing that helped them beat MVP Black. And as we saw in the last series versus Team Dignitas, mYinsanity had some fantastic ones too to get ahead of their opponents.
Definitely, and I really like the point that J-How made there. Not only is it a clash of the regions, but it's also a clash of the playstyles. You know, China being known to play very aggressively and so on and so forth. But without further ado, we're now going to take a look at the new rosters, or excuse me, bracket situation that we've got going here. Now, we see this winner match between mYinsanity and Team Tempest. The winner automatically qualifies themselves for the upcoming playoff stage. Of course, that is going to take place tomorrow. So that is, of course, where the semifinals and then the grand finals will be shown to you. Whereas on the lower half, we could see that Dignitas will have to prove themselves once again against, you know, the loser of this very best of three.
It's almost as if this match right here is literally going to say Europeans going to be good enough to compete with those Asian teams in Korea and China, or they're just going to be that second tier as always. But this is mYinsanity. And
as always, I like it.
I really feel that this is the opportunity that Europe is going to have, and mYinsanity, I think, is going to be the one to do it.
I completely agree with everything you have to say. And by knocking out X Team, actually, Europe has now secured their moving on to the top four, which is another kind of rare occasion that we see when it comes to the World Championship, like Taiwan making out of the bottom four. Never seen that before, and then it's been a long time since we've seen Europe do this.
But you want to get out in the first place seed. You absolutely want to, because you know who's waiting for the second. Yeah, for the second place seed is MVP Black. And no offense to E-Star, but obviously MVP Black again just looks stronger than our Chinese team that's left.
Definitely. Now we see Nuruk here on the screen. He is, you know, the real MVP when it comes to making those crucial plays on assassins like Lunar, for example. I think sometimes he doesn't actually get enough credit for all the plays he makes.
Dread, when we were up here earlier and we had mYinsanity, you talked about the drafting of mYinsanity might not necessarily work against some of the different metas that we see coming out of Korea I feel like they can almost dictate a little bit and actually bring. That was actually what they said in their team interviews, that they need to dictate and force their fight.
It's kind of. I agree with you, and it's not that I even, I guess, have the direct out. I just going through the past that we've never seen a team with that kind of innovation do well past the top 4. It always seems to crumble as the tournament moves on later and later. And this is probably the first time that I would ever say that I think it may be the other way around, because they are so not only creative but just dominant as a group.
It's a delicate balance. You
Yes.
have to play your own strengths. You can't just fully focus on taking down your opponent's picks, because it puts you in a place where you might just have a terrible draft because of that. But at the same time, they still know that Tempest has some very strong heroes, ridiculously strong. So I don't think they can just completely ignore Tempest.
I agree.
The thing that I think benefits them the most is that guy that we saw there last, Splendor. The fact that he's not choked in to support. He's not at all, which is something that we see a lot of, that we've seen throughout the week. I think that allows them a little bit more flexibility.
Now, on the other hand, we, of course, see Team Tempest, and they are very fond of themselves. They are very confident going into this best of 3, and rightfully so, because, to be honest, up to this point, they haven't really looked too badly, although struggling a little bit in the early stages of the game, Gilly.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Tempest specifically with Super League is their rate of growth, their rate of improvement was just so profound in this season of Super League. They started out, and the biggest thing I think for them was team synergy. It was lacking, and that's why we saw them lose very badly to teams like TNL, to MVP Black in the start of the playoff stage, although they did take 1 game off of them. But then to come back through, defeat TNL handily, and then of course the famous 4-0 of MVP Black in the finals, the only team to take a series off of MVP Black since TNL did.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a beautiful clash when you see these two.
Oh, Zen.
Wake up!
Dude. The guy is a rock star.
He's like, hey, you got a game.
He's an actual rock star. I am so envious of him. But again, when you're talking in the improvement of Tempest, is like both of these teams have improved, but without a doubt, Tempest improves far more hastily than mYinsanity.
That would be a very
That's true.
terrifying
That's a
new
good
hero
point.
on the Nexus for sure, the duck. So, yeah, can we talk about Tempest playstyle and preferred hero picks a little bit more? What can we expect coming out in the first draft?
Falstad. It's the first thing I think of. I think Greymane is something that we can probably look to see them be threatening.
They were
Muradin.
really prioritizing Muradin.
Yes, that was actually first pick in almost every game in their series against MVP Black.
Right, and they again played him in the second game versus the X team, but showing a little bit of difference. Even picking Brightwing, which I love, in the first game versus X team. So they have a lot of flexibility. Tassadar, too, potentially.
Yeah, their top 4 heroes, Sonya, Greymane, Murd, and Tassadar. I mean, it's very in meta right now.
Yes,
fair.
And this could be what mYinsanity could be going up against with their off meta, running into some pretty strong heroes, and those are nothing to scoff at all.
The one I am looking forward to the most when it comes to prioritization when these two clash is Kilthos.
Yes.
Because he has obviously been very dominant in this tournament, and kind of in North America and Europe was first pick, first ban, but in Korea and China it wasn't necessarily as high priority. But now it suddenly becomes like Kilthos is the new thing to be worried about.
Yeah.
So where does he come out in these drafts?
All right.
Should be priority.
Yeah, it should definitely be prioritized. I agree, guys. But for now on, we are going to prioritize and take a look. We're going to prioritize the maps that are being played first here. And that is, of course, as we can clearly see on the monitor, Battlefield of Eternity, the very first one, a playground, almost the same thing, a playground or battleground. It's pretty much the same, but you know, Lunara is a hero that is seen very frequently coming out from mYinsanity here in Nuruk. We've seen him earlier. He's a specialist on this one.
I mean, this is what we saw from mYinsanity earlier in the week in the early group stages. They absolutely dominated this map with their own traditional playstyle. It was very different than most things that we have seen, Lunara being the main thing. But is that going to be enough against Tempest? We haven't seen a lot of Tempest this week, so if you're not familiar with them, things might look a little different. But we do know what to expect a little bit out of mYinsanity.
Oh.
Speaking of Kilthos that we brought up a bit earlier, and also another thing I want to point out about this map that I really enjoy is Tempest is very big on their melee assassins, and with that being the case, this is a map where they don't thrive nearly as much as some of the other maps. So
Falstad first pick.
yeah, the Falstad, and then I like that mYinsanity has already shown that they're going to go with that poke-oriented playstyle, which they love so much. And always, when you think of MYI, you have Lunara as an option, especially on BOE.
Does that leave Greymane open for Tempest, or would they pick him up this early? Remember,
Yes.
we've seen a heavy priority towards Muradin.
I mean, Muradin is going to be it looks like, and I think Greymane is reasonable, but they might worry about, again, there's the supports, because they are panicked about that. If they decide to try and isolate mYinsanity from the supports, I think banning Karazim is far more valuable than worrying about the Uther.
Yeah, I agree. Their Karazim play has just been stellar, and especially since mYinsanity already have Tassadar, they're a lot more flexible in who they get, and they might just straight up want Karazim with Tassadar anyway.
The thing that I love is that this draft has gone so quickly.
It was so fast.
It means that they know what they're doing and they know what the other team's going to do, and I love that ban right there.
Are they going to move into a Toronto for mYinsanity? Like, Tassadar isn't the most common, and so I feel like they're going to move into a Toronto as like a double pseudo healer instead, because they need to compensate for the DPS by picking Tess.
They're the only team who has won a game with Tronda at this tournament.
That's a good point
there.
there.
It was on BOE too.
Yes, it was on Battlefield of Eternity. She's just so strong. She amplifies the damage that they have, and they have a lot of damage. But looking at this, they want to move into their standard Lunara instead, bringing in Karazim along for the ride.
Right, this is a lot of comfort coming in for mYinsanity. Nuruk on the Lunara, Splendor on his Karazim. I mean, so far, it's a great and open draft, allowing you to go in multiple directions.
I would really like to see Dummy actually move towards the Sonya. I don't want to see him take a thrall in this situation. The hard engage is going to be really valuable against the squishy backline, but again, as Wolf pointed out earlier, that he struggles typically on that hero, where it seems like his Sonya usually thrives.
This is one of the most unique drafts that you see. You normally don't see a Li Ming Lunara, but this is twice we've seen it from mYinsanity. This is one of the only teams I've seen do anything close to this, and to have that strong back line. It's just a matter of what are they going to solidify up at the front. But first, Tempest.
This looks
Sylvanas.
so strong
Yes.
to pull Sylvanas in, because if they can win the objective off of a team fight, probably more off of a team fight than by racing, unless they can just positionally get in a better spot, then they will get so much more out of it, especially in the early game, and be able to snowball it.
Is this where they're just debating Thrall Sonya, or do you think they might be doing something else?
If they do something else, I think it'll be them adjusting to the composition that they see out of mYinsanity. mYinsanity has a lot of healing and wins the sustain war, and they also win when it comes to the poke. So they might be questioning whether or not they need to worry more about their hard engage, or actually what if they need to keep up with that poke in some way, shape, or form in their comp. I personally think that they've already committed too hard to the engage, that they need to be worried about just their efficiency in their engage and making sure when they commit, things die. They can't take the minute that does not happen, they lose every single fight.
Yeah, you make a very good point there, Dread. I mean, the poke war is so far clearly on mY's side. I mean, we have the poison damage from Lunara, we have the arcane orbs and missiles from Li Ming, and of course Tassadar also adds a little bit more with his size storm. So what can Tempest really pick against that? They choose more engage, and Anubarak also with his dampen magic is of course a really good hero to absorb incoming damage.
And his beetles to block Li Ming.
Right, exactly. Absorb Li Ming's damage too, so he can do a lot of disruption if they end up racing and they just need a little bit more time to stop mYinsanity.
Is this an Arthas pick?
I was wondering it would be Johanna.
I don't think we'll see a Johanna. Personally, into a double tank, I don't think mYinsanity will, even though they almost always do in these situations. I don't think it'll be Diablo either. I think it'll be Arthas. I don't know. They need somebody who can survive longer on the front line here.
Johanna can disrupt on the other Immortal for a little while, though.
A little bit.
And pull away this potential hard engage long enough for them to poke down Immortals.
What if they
I think Gilly makes some great points.
Yeah, I mean, it's mYinsanity, and they always go with their comfort. I mean, it's not as
Blumby definitely loves some Johanna. And let's be honest here, every single hero in mY's roster and draft looks like a comfort pick. However, Tempest, known for strong team fights, certainly has a recipe against that, JO. How do you feel towards the overall drafting situation here?
I don't know if it's an exact recipe. I feel that this is what mYinsanity is used to running, and we've seen them do it well, very well, in fact. But this is Tempest. I feel like both teams kind of got what they wanted. It's just going to be a matter of execution.
Right. This is the test. This is the test of styles for each
the
team. They're like, we go into game one and we do what we've done to see if we have to actually give anything away that we have changed. Do we need to make adjustments? Is our style just straight up stronger? This is the test.
You do what you do, I do what I do, and we'll see who comes out. Let's duke it out. Yeah.
Battlefield of Eternity, guys, it is going to be one hell of a battle, quite literally. So why don't you provide us with some of your predictions?
After watching what mYinsanity did with a similar comp the other day, I'm going with mYinsanity.
All right, Dread?
mYinsanity.
Wow, great. And Gilly, last but not least.
Lockdown is on Falstad, so I will be the voice of dissent and go for Tempest.
All right, and I'm going to go, of course, with my boys from mYinsanity. It would be great for the first time ever to see a European team making it to the playoff stage in a global championship. So definitely, without further ado, we have the perfect match to match this game. Casters are going to be Calder and Wolf, so take it away, boys.
I'm not gonna lie here, I have goosebumps. This game is going to be awesome, and I couldn't be more happy casting it with you.
Oh, this is going to be sick, Calder. You and I, of course, casted for many years in Korea. We're casting a Korean team. Again, we did it yesterday. We're doing it again, but we're also casting a team that's comprised mostly of German players, yourself being a German. Let's go ahead and announce these players. I'll let you take mYinsanity.
It is, of course, Dartmok on Lunara here, hopping on a hero that he doesn't play as much as Norgan Hazovs, but still can do it well. Splendor on Karazim, Blumby at the front line on Johanna, Norok on Tastada, and Hazovs on Li Ming and Wolf. Let's introduce the Koreans.
Let's do it. All right, Duck is playing Sylvanas. Hyde is on Rhaegar. Honkono playing Murid, and Dami taking a bit of an unusual one here with Anubarak, and Falstad being played by Lockdown, his favorite hero.
I am so hyped for this one. We've been talking over the draft a little bit, and we've actually looked at it, and of course there's no way that these teams didn't do their homework and analyze the strategy of the opponent, and both of them allowed picks for the other team that their opponents are very comfortable with, just saying our style is the stronger one here.
That's absolutely right. You know, the real big difference, I'd say, is Dami did not go for the Soda. He went for the Anubarak. He's going for Lockdown and big aggressive stuns and dive instead of going for a little bit more sustain in the battles of the Whirlwind. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to pair with Honkono's Muradin.
mYinsanity, they took down Dignitas. They were looking really good doing it, and they said, we are going to be the ones that get out of this group first. But to do that, you have to take down those Korean overlords. And Tempest and MVP Black, both teams have looked exceptional so far.
All right, here we go. Honkono going to go ahead and scout out this move over here, looking for a pick. Going to spot that rotation. Nothing going to happen, though. And something I do want to point out is we already have, at level 1, Rhaegar going for the Lightning Bond instead of going for movement speed. Not as popular with the Koreans, but here we go. Dami taking a lot of damage. May have overextended.
Yeah, and already mYinsanity trying to chase him down. They're close, but there's the shield up for Nubarag as well. They did not greed for the kill, and that is one of the strengths of mYinsanity, that they do not always go for these greedy moves. They like to play it safe, and actually, Blum even trying to cancel the portal.
I feel if he had actually reacted immediately, he probably could have canceled that. One thing I want to point out, because it's the first time we're actually going to see this in this tournament, the Korean players, all of them were telling me, even before we left Korea, that the scariest thing for them was Europe's Lunara. And finally, we're going to get to see Lunara versus a Korean team. And with 2 tanks here, I do feel that Tempest has got a plan in mind.
And Lunara gets a lot of value after level 7 against, of course, the Immortal. Keep in mind that if the Korean team is able to lock the objective down, that Sylvanas is going to give them so much more value. Both of the teams now fast, but a bit of an edge for Tempest on this first Immortal pressure.
Yeah, it looks like mYinsanity going to consider moving in to deny this. Honkono is going to go ahead and try to slow this down. Bloomby doing the same, so Tank's trying to deny both sides. And again, the lead here to Tempest. Looks like mYinsanity is just going to try to get rid of as many shields as possible.
They will. They are fully aware that at this point they might lose the Immortal run. They are waiting for level 7 for the Nature's Culling. They need a little bit more damage on Hazov's, Li Ming as well. For now, they're going to be happy with their shields are nearly down. Immortal is lost, but this is something that at this point you can still deal with.
Absolutely. And level 4 is going to be coming up at the same time for both teams. So level 4 will be up for mYinsanity on the Immortal defense. The big issue, obviously, is going to be Duck's pushing power. This is going to be an Immortal pushing with no towers to deter it, so mYinsanity going to have to be really careful about how they stop this.
Yeah, they have to be very careful here at the bot lane. Tassadon and Fawcett are up at the top, but everybody else is down here at the bottom. Level 4 talents are now in play. Both teams, of course, focusing here, and the Koreans are looking for a potential kill. That would be the ideal scenario for him. Blumby with a nice move at the front line with a good condemn, but the wall has already been breached.
The wall is breached here, and they are continuing to push. Not going to be able to get much more. In fact, Honkono overextending. He's actually under lethal there. Is the heal to keep him alive. High turning around to try to stop this push mapping. They do get a little bit more damage done to that fort. And you can already see the damage coming up from Lunara on these two tanks. It's actually unreal to see.
Tempest is pushing the edge here. That's the second time that one of their frontliners was in a lot of trouble. mYinsanity so far not securing a kill. They lost some experience. They're level behind because of the structures lost. But on this particular map, they are still in okay shape. It's really important, though, that they get that level 7 before the next Immortal spawns on the map.
Actually working on even getting this wall down here later on for some of the dives you might see. When you have heroes that basically every single hero on their side can dive forward, it's important to have those walls down to come back. I mean, if you look at it, everyone except Rhaegar does have kind of a jump forward. We are going to see Hasselhoffs get hit by that Stormbolt, but teleports away. And this has been a pretty basic game here. The push power of Sylvanas gives a huge lead in EXP for Tempest, though. As you see, the top lane is also being lost by Nuruk. So in this early game, Tempest gets an advantage, but as you mentioned, a huge power spike for Lunara at level 7.
Yeah, and you can, of course, also tell that their teams have a lot of respect for each other, but that respect is lost. That Nuruk gets invaded up at the top. Down goes Tassadar. Tempest with a beautiful kill, diving deep under the fort to make that happen. Great play here by them, and they have level 7 now, locked down cold already.
You know, mYinsanity would have been able to respond a little bit easier if they weren't going for their Merc camp at the exact same time, and that does really hurt. With this win, level 7 is up. Tempest is going to take this Merc camp. They're also sending Sylvanas up as well. Looks like they might even push this fort down before the next Immortal spawns.
Tempest has done a great job so far in the early game, and that's Sylvanas, of course, as you already pointed out, Wolf. That gives him exceptional value in those pushing scenarios. The camp has now been taken, and this is actually something that the Koreans neglected to do. They have not taken their Shaman camp. That is going to force them down to the bot lane to react to the push.
Looks like they're going to go ahead and get right onto this Immortal. Bloomby is coming over Hasselhoffs and Splendor as well. Nuruk is in position. They want to deny this.
Yeah,
already a little bit of damage done.
There's the level 7 as well, and the power spike is not only because of Nature's Culling, but also because we finally have Karla's Embrace, and that is being put to good use here as mYinsanity tries to defend the Immortal. Falstad moved down to the bot lane to depush the Shaman camp, and mYinsanity is still fighting here in the middle of the map.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Tempest to actually win the race, despite the fact that they have this early lead. It's on the edge because of the Nature's Calling, as you mentioned, and Lunara does so much damage. So both teams are actually kind of on the defensive here. Tempest does have one level advantage, but the talent tier is the same. And we're seeing, like you said before, I think you said it perfectly well, so much respect for both teams here. They're not going to overextend, they're not going to take big risks, but here comes Tempest in now to go for the Immortal. They're going to force the swap.
Tempest is starting to move in. They're going for Bloomby. Already the 50% halftime show is starting. The two Immortals fighting each other in the middle. And that early lead in pressure against the Immortal gave Tempest a lead here and put mYinsanity into an awkward position. Right now they're still at the defense, whereas they really want to be the team that pushes the pressure on the opponent's Immortal with all the heroes that they have that are targeted towards that.
Yeah. Keep in mind there's much more poke, I'd say, for mYinsanity in this composition than what Tempest has. So defending here, going to be, while they're defending, it's harder for Tempest to attack. But they are going to go in here, and they're actually trying to grab a kill onto Splendor. He does Radiant Dash away, and he does have a shield on himself as well. Narrowly avoids that Stormbolt, a close call. Meanwhile, Lockdown taking some damage in the bot lane.
Lockdown testing Lunara here, and Lunara already with a very good damage output against the Immortal itself, forcing Falstad now back too, and all of a sudden it's Myrden who's trying to help here out as well. Falstad flies in up on the top now, though. Bloomby engages with another Condemn, having Myrden going for Nuruk for a moment, but here comes the attack against once more Bloomby at the front. They're using the Immortal as well to help out during the fight.
All right, looks like Lockdown taking a lot of damage. He's going to have to barrel roll away, but they are trying to force this down, and I think they will get it. mYinsanity, can they get a kill here? Because if they don't, they're going to lose the Immortal.
Yeah, they're trying to. They try to go for Lockdown. Look at the slow here. Bloomby moves in. He wants Falstad. He doesn't get him, though. Rhaegar is there and immediately helps out.
Very close call. Very, very close call. Tempest realizing they don't have the poke to actually win unless they commit. So they do commit here, and they're starting to get a little bit concerned. Like, okay, we're going to lose this Immortal if we don't go for it right now. And they do actually get the better trade here. They will get this Immortal. It's a decent amount of shields, about 7,500. And this Immortal will secure them to her level 10 heroics. And that's going to give them a huge advantage going to the rest of this game. And from now on, mYinsanity will be playing from behind.
Tempest played it very well. The early pressure they got against the Immortal forced mYinsanity into a defensive spot, and with their comp, that's not the game they want to fight. They want to be the ones putting pressure on the opponent's Immortal. But Tempest denied that very nicely here. Great play by the Koreans, and the European team, as Wolf just pointed out, is now in a very weird situation. They are up against an opponent who has heroics, and we have, amongst others, Cocoon locked down.
Yeah, Cocoon coming in here obviously going to give you a lot of isolation. It's actually really scary to see, and I'm not entirely sure. I don't have faith in Dami's Cocoon just yet. We'll have to wait and see it first because he does not play this hero very often, and he certainly does not play a lot of Cocoon. So this is probably just a reaction here that we're seeing from the Tempest Bruiser.
Muradin is threatening Haymaker, and he goes for it. He picks the Haymaker over the Avatar. They're running a double front line. He can use that. More isolation, more damage, and the Immortal already going straight for that keep. mYinsanity in trouble. False that going deep.
In lockdown.
Once the Mighty Gust, they're jumping on them. They're trying to go for Bloomy. The Gust is out, and Bloomy dead.
The Bloomy is dead here, and this is going to be before 9 minutes to keep. Splendor way too far forward. Does have to dash away. Dami going for the spikes there. He does stun him. And again, this Immortal nearly at full health, and this is the power of the dive comp that we see from Tempest, and they're so confident with this. Again, lockdown, you let him go on Falstad. Moves like this are going to happen, and they're going for an early core here at 9 minutes in the game.
They're going for core, and there's Johanna. She comes in again. That Immortal Sylvanas with the value. The keep is already down, but there's the kill against Sylvanas. She is finally up, and look at that core. Tempest are completely wrecking mYinsanity. One more kill, but it's not enough. The core goes down, and Tempest takes the 1-0 10 minutes into the game.
You absolutely have to respect Tempest team fighting once they get level 10. We saw it against X Team earlier. They had some trouble in the early game. They turned it on the late game. Heroics come online first, and you're going to see, boom, big dives coming in. You're seeing Gus go down. Sylvanas allows this to happen because she deactivates the keep.
Exactly. Sylvanas really the key hero in this case, and the early level 10 for Tempest. They realized we have Sylvanas, we have the level 10, 1.5 levels before our opponent. In any other scenario, without Sylvanas, he would have never been able to go for the core, but they saw the opportunity, and the Koreans, they are just not a team to let that go.
You have Hong Kono, whose best hero, in my opinion, is Muradin, who could dwarf toss over there. Dami playing a Nubrok, going for the web wrap, which could have also isolated someone. It didn't end up being that important there, but that's also another way you can dive even further underneath the keep.
mYinsanity definitely caught a bit off guard here. That's Sylvanas making it happen. It was a very short game, a very dominant game by Tempest, and let's hear what the panel has to say about our first map in the best of 3 series here.